I'm Abbie Woods, 22, and in 4 weeks I'm supposed to marry the love of my life. Bill is 32, kind and careful, the first man who ever made the ground feel steady. We live in Denver, in a big apartment with wide windows and a view of the city that glows like a low fire at night. The fridge is covered with a neat wedding countdown that Bill updates with a pen, crossing off tasks like stitches, venue booked, photographer booked, suit fitted, my dress hanging like a promise. A month before the wedding, my mom came to stay, Sarah Woods. She had me at 18, so at 40 she still looks like the world hasn't caught up with her. Glossy brown hair, bright eyes, the kind of posture that says she knows what she's doing. She's a doctor, the sort who calls patients my people. All my life it was mostly just us. I used to tell her, "I can't wait to dance with you at my wedding," and she'd roll her eyes and say I was sappy, but she'd smile. I didn't introduce her to Bill sooner because she never liked my boyfriends. She would be polite, then ask careful questions that felt like warnings. I protected this one. I waited until there was a date, a venue, a dress, until us had walls. At dinner, when they finally met, I braced for her soft frown. Instead, Mom's face lit up. Bill shook her hand and said, "Mrs. Woods, it's so good to finally meet you." She laughed, a little surprised, and didn't correct him. I saw relief move through her like air after a held breath. I felt it too. They found each other fast. Mom's internal medicine brain and Bill's dentist mind clicked like matching gears. Occlusion, jaw pain that's really stress, implants, difficult patients who don't floss, the insurance mess. They spoke in terms I recognized but couldn't fully track. I work in marketing. I can tell you why a teal button beats a red one, but not why a bite ruins a neck. Still, it was sweet watching them enjoy each other's talk. It felt like safety. The two people I love most at the same table, laughing about root canals and scheduling. They added tennis, court times on the fridge, shoes by the door. Tennis isn't my thing. I like Pilates and long walks with a podcast. I told myself this was perfect. They had a lane where they were fast together, and I had mine. We met in the middle for dinner, TV, a kiss goodnight. The apartment felt full and happy. Mom cooked Bill's favorites so he won't starve between patients. And he praised her every time. He'd tease that she was spoiling us. She'd shrug like it was nothing. Most nights, after the plates were washed and stacked to dry, they lingered at the table with a half-finished bottle, voices low, looping from stubborn patients and tricky crowns to tennis drills and old stories from residency. I'm an early-to-bed person. By 10, I'd kiss Bill goodnight, set my alarms, and close our bedroom door while their conversation kept drifting in a warm, steady thread. Sometimes I woke at 1 for water and saw the kitchen lights still on, their silhouettes bent toward each other, a soft laugh, a murmured, "One more thing," the clock hands climbing. I watched them and thought, finally, no tension, no tests. For once, everything slid into place without me forcing it. I let myself believe it. My mother approved, my fiancé adored me, and the life I wanted was close enough to touch. One morning I woke at 7 and the apartment felt wrong. The light was thin and early, but the kitchen looked like midnight, a couple of empty wine bottles on the counter, 2 glasses turned upside down on a dish towel as if someone had tried, belatedly, to be neat. Mom always woke at 6, even on weekends, even on holidays. The closed door to the guest room stayed closed. I smiled to myself, a small, private smile. She must have finally relaxed. Maybe the wedding countdown and the new city and all the cooking and talking had caught up with her. Maybe she'd had too much wine and given herself permission to sleep in. Bill's side of the bed was cool. He usually stirred at 7 and left closer to 8, coffee in a travel mug, a kiss on my hair. The quiet now had a hollow to it. Maybe he forgot to tell me about an urgent appointment, I thought, rinsing a glass and setting it in the rack, arranging small order back into our morning. I pressed my ear to Mom's door, silence, and knocked once, lightly. "You up?" I called. "Headache," she said through the wood. "I'm staying in." By the time Bill came home, the day had tilted. He looked strange, tired in a way that wasn't about sleep, his expression tucked in. "What happened?" I asked, searching his face for the right drawer to open. "Hard day," he said, and let the two words stand between us like a chair no one wanted to move. That evening, we didn't have our family dinner. No plates lined up, no easy clatter, no mom offering seconds with a joke about feeding an army. The kitchen kept its silence, the counter its empties, and I told myself it was nothing. Just a blip, just one-off night. But the same shape repeated itself the next day and the day after. Mom stayed in her room late and spoke through the door. Headache. Bill left early or came back late and said, hard day, the words thinning each time. Dinner kept failing to happen. I tried to let the week pass without pinning it to the board of worry. Sometimes schedules stumble, I told myself. People get busy. Stress looks like this. On the weekend, we were supposed to go check the wedding location again, to imagine table placements and the exact length of the walk from aisle to altar. I stood in the doorway of Mom's room with my purse on my shoulder. You ready? I asked. She didn't open the door. I'll be busy, she said. Simple as that. The words fell and didn't break. I nodded to no one and told myself it was fine. It could be fine. That evening, I noticed new shopping bags folded neatly beside her suitcase, then gone. The closet door pulled almost closed. In the mirror by the hall, I caught quick flashes. Soft fabric, careful cuts, tags snipped and tucked away. Mom was only 40, and she'd had me at 18. She was still young, still beautiful, and she'd always liked to look good. It didn't surprise me. I made a small, approving sound in my throat, a daughter's automatic yes to the idea of her mother treating herself. The apartment stayed tidy and quiet. The week settled into that quiet like a habit, and I let it, telling myself there was nothing here to name. Sunday slid shut on the soft clink of glass. We'd finished the bottle between the three of us, small pours that felt like a ritual rather than a celebration, and I excused myself early. I had an important presentation Monday morning, and I wanted a clean head, a clear voice. I brushed my teeth, set 2 alarms, laid my blazer over the chair, and slipped into bed while the apartment still hummed with low conversation. When I blinked awake, the room was dark and unfamiliar in that way night makes everything a little strange. The clock read 4:03 a.m. Bill's side of the bed was cold and flat, the sheets uncreased. I listened for the small sounds I'd learned to expect, the soft rattle of a cabinet, the sigh of the refrigerator. But what I heard was the faint, steady hush of water and the click of something in the bathroom down the hall. I padded out, the floor cool under my feet. A line of light cut under the bathroom door. I knocked, knuckles barely touching wood. Come in, Bill said very quietly. I opened the door a few inches. The mirror was fogged at the corners, the overhead light too bright, sharpening everything. Bill stood by the sink. For a beat, his face looked genuinely surprised to see me, like I'd interrupted a thought he hadn't prepared to share. You're up so late? He said, voice light, almost teasing but not quite landing. I woke up and you weren't in bed, I said, keeping my voice low, like the hour might shatter. He glanced down at the counter and back to me. Forgot that I didn't finish papers and had to stay longer, he said, the words chosen carefully, as if he were picking them from a drawer. Go to bed. I'll come in a few minutes. Okay, I said, because there didn't seem to be anything else to say that wouldn't turn the light brighter. I stepped backward, pulled the door to a gentle close, and let the hall swallow me. As I turned, I caught movement at the far end, the guest room door easing shut with a soft click. I hesitated, then walked toward it, as if proximity could make sense of things. Mom? I asked, stopping outside. Don't you sleep as well? She didn't open the door. Her voice came through the wood, steady and soft, the way she spoke to me when I was little and feverish. Just went to drink water. Good dreams, my love. The guest room light snuffed out. A thin line of brightness at the threshold disappeared. I stood there for a moment with my hand on the doorknob I didn't turn. The apartment had returned to that deep, early silence, the kind that makes your own breath feel too loud. In the bathroom, water ran for a second and stopped. Somewhere, a pipe ticked like a cooling engine. Back in our bedroom, the clock glowed 4:07. I lay down on the cool side of the sheets and stared at the ceiling, listening for footsteps that didn't come yet. Nothing was wrong, I told myself. People wake at odd hours. People take water. People finish paperwork too late. I repeated the logic slowly, like counting backward. But the bad feeling didn't loosen. It sat at the base of my throat, wordless and certain, a shadow I couldn't name. I closed my eyes and waited for sleep to find me anyway. A week before the wedding, the air in the apartment felt tight, like a ribbon pulled a notch too hard. Mom and Bill both wore their nerves on the surface. Quick smiles, quick glances, that restless way of standing when your body wants to pace but you've told it to behave. I teased them in the doorway one morning, coffee in hand. This is going to be the strangest wedding ever. My mom and my fiancé are the ones freaking out and the bride is fine. They laughed, but the sound slid away fast, like it didn't have anywhere to sit. I kept my head down and my lists long. There were calls to confirm and emails to send, little decisions I hadn't realized still needed choosing. Napkin folds, the exact shade of the table runners, who gets the last vegetarian entree. I woke early and fell into bed late, floating somewhere between my checklists and the picture in my mind of walking toward Bill with everyone I love on either side. I was tired in that good, useful way that feels like forward motion. Each morning, the kitchen greeted me with the same small evidence. A couple of empty wine glasses by the sink, sometimes a bottle tilted in the recycling like it had fallen asleep standing up. I rinsed and stacked without thinking much about it. Nerves make people talk long and pour a little more. That's what I told myself. We were in the last stretch, the part where details expand and time shrinks. If a glass or two took the edge off for them, fine. Once, as I set the glasses upside down on the towel, I had the flicker of a thought. After the wedding, I should say something. Not a scold, just a gentle request to drink less, to find another way to let the pressure out. I pictured us around the table, laughing at how wound up we'd been, promising early nights and more water. It felt simple, solvable, one of those minor habits you adjust when a household is shifting into a new shape. So I let the week be what it was, me and my dreams and tasks, them with their tight smiles and late nights. I kept moving the pieces to where they belonged and told myself we were all just relieving stress in our own clumsy ways. The glasses dried on the counter each morning, and I dried them too, placing each one back in the cabinet like a small, harmless thing. The morning of my wedding opened like a window. I woke before my alarm and lay there smiling, feeling the day settle over me. Light, certain, warm. Everyone was here. Even my grandparents, who hadn't flown in years, had made it, their names written on little cards that made me tear up when I saw them last night. I felt like the happiest person in the world, like the picture I'd carried in my head had finally stepped into real time. I slipped into the robe the hotel left on the chair and started getting ready. We were all on the same floor, separate rooms, doors with little gold numbers, a hallway that smelled faintly of citrus cleaner. I'd always imagined Mom helping me into my dress, zipping me up, smoothing the fabric like she used to smooth my hair before school. But when I texted her, she replied, "Busy right now. I'll meet you before we head down." It pricked a little, that small wish I'd saved for us. Then I told myself not to be selfish. It was a big day for her too. Nerves have their own logic. From my room, the wedding area outside was visible. A sweep of lawn, rows of chairs, the arch we chose. I stood at the window while someone pinned my hair and tried to memorize the view. I scanned for Bill automatically, for the familiar tilt of his shoulders. He wasn't there. I looked for Mom too, not there either. I felt the tiniest wobble inside and steadied it. They were probably moving between places, handling something I didn't need to know. When everything was in place, the dress, the veil, the lipstick I practiced a dozen times, I checked the time and lifted my bouquet. My granddad was already waiting to walk me down the aisle. I could see the top of his silver head in my mind like a blessing. I wanted to stop by Mom's room first. I wanted that minute I'd pictured, her hand on my cheek, some half-silly, half-serious line about not tripping, an escort, mother to daughter. I crossed the hall and raised my hand to knock. Before my knuckles touched wood, I heard a voice from inside. Bill's voice, low and urgent in a way I'd never heard him use with her. "Sarah, please." For a second, I didn't understand the sentence. He'd never called her that to her face. It was always Mrs. Woods, formal and careful. The name felt too intimate, too bare, spoken in that tone. The door swung open suddenly. Mom stood there, framed by the doorway. For a flicker, surprise cut across her face. Sharp, unguarded. Disappointment, too, quick as a breath, like I'd entered at the wrong part of a conversation. I opened my mouth to ask what was happening, to say anything that would make the moment right side up again. She changed in front of me the way she does when she has to talk a frightened patient through a procedure. Face smoothing, voice warmed, eyes bright with purpose. "We have to go," she said, reaching for my hand as if this had always been the plan. "The groom doesn't have to see you." I let myself be pulled along, my questions swallowed and set aside, like a note tucked into a pocket for later. We moved down the hall together, and she talked, busy, fluttering words about timing, about the music cue, about how my granddad would be so proud. Each sentence landed where my question might have gone. The elevator chimed, the doors opened, we went in and then out again, her voice a steady path I followed. Outside, my granddad was already waiting for me, suit pressed, eyes shining the way I hoped they would. He took my arm, and the world narrowed to the feel of his hand, the weight of the bouquet, the line of chairs that would soon be full. I told myself whatever had just happened was nothing, something silly, a tangle not worth pulling. I would not let thoughts I couldn't name spoil the day I had built with such care. 10 minutes later, I stood at the start of the aisle and saw Bill where he was supposed to be. My heart rose to meet him. I was ready to give him my hand and my whole certain heart. The ceremony moved like a dream I'd already had. Music opening the aisle, my granddad steady at my side, faces turning like flowers to follow me. I saw Bill at the end in his suit, hands folded, eyes bright. The arch was simple and beautiful, the air clear, the mountain line behind the hotel like a painted promise. I felt weightless and anchored at once, as if every step clicked into a groove cut just for me. The priest's words rose and fell in the pattern I'd practiced in my head 100 times. Vows, rings, blessings. I kept thinking, remember this, remember this. When he reached the moment, a line the movies always make a joke of, it still felt ceremonial and distant, just a formal phrase floating over a calm lake. "If anyone has any objections," he said, "speak now or forever hold your peace." A sound cut the air. Not a cough, not the nervous little laugh people sometimes give when they're trying not to laugh. It was crying, a low, raw crying that made the hair on my arms lift. I turned. It was my mother. It wasn't a quiver of nerves or a teary, proud mom moment. It was mourning, deep and dark, pulled from a place I didn't know lived inside her. Chairs creaked. People went silent. Heads pivoted in a slow, stunned wave. Mom stood, hand to her mouth, and then, without a word, she ran. She ran toward the trees at the edge of the lawn, the small forest near the hotel that shaded the walking path and the benches where guests had taken photos earlier. The sight of her back moving away from me made the ground tilt. Someone gasped. My granddad's hand tightened on my arm. I felt the world narrow to the space her body left behind. 2 minutes later, maybe less, maybe more, time unstuck itself. Bill dropped his hands and ran too. He didn't look at me. He didn't say a word. He just turned and went after her. A rustle moved through the guests, a rising murmur like wind through paper. I thought I might faint. I heard my name somewhere, soft, like it had to travel a long way to reach me. The priest stepped forward, voice smoothing into the kind you use for children and emergency landings. He began to talk about love, about patience, about giving the couple a moment. His words barely broke the surface. I ran. I ran the way I hadn't run since I was a kid chasing a school bus, veil snagging, bouquet forgotten on the grass, dress tugging at my knees. The trees took me in and turned the light green. Branches whispered against each other. My breath sounded too loud in my own head. I found them on a narrow path where the ground dipped and the trunks rose close together. Bill had his arms around my mother. He was holding her like you hold someone you love, and he kissed her face, her temple, her cheek, the way you kiss a person who belongs to you. It wasn't a son-in-law and a mother-in-law. It was lovers. Mom kept crying. Bill's face was bent and urgent, his hands sure, not comforting in-law pats, but the map of a body you know by heart. A noise came out of me, a small, broken animal sound I didn't recognize as mine until both of their heads lifted. Bill looked at me, and then he looked away. Down, to the side, anywhere but the middle where my eyes were. Mom untangled herself from his arms and came toward me fast, hands open as if I were a patient who needed calming. "Abbie, my love," she said, voice thick with tears. "I got so nervous. I'm sorry, it's such a touching moment." I opened my mouth and nothing came. My throat burned with all the air I couldn't pull in. "He kissed you," I tried to say, but the words scraped. I wanted to scream them. He kissed you, he kissed you." "No, you got it wrong, dear, it's not so," Mom said quickly, already shaping a story, already smoothing the edges she needed smooth. "Stop it," Bill said. His voice was flat and serious, a blade finding the seam. He wasn't looking away now. He was looking at me, and I felt the floor of my life start to give. "I'm sorry, Abbie," he said, and each word landed solidly, like stones dropping into a bucket. "I can't hide it anymore, we got too far." Mom's head snapped toward him. "Shut up!" she screamed, losing the soft doctor voice, losing all the controlled grace she wore like a coat. "You don't understand who you're talking to." The words cracked apart, too big for the space. But Bill didn't stop. "I love Sarah," he said. "I love your mother. More than anyone before. Please forgive us, but we can't stop it. We tried, but we can't." He swallowed, then kept going. "I love her mind, the way she cuts straight through a problem. We talk until 2 a.m. about patience and life and money and aging, and I never have to translate. She speaks the language I live in. She calls me out when I'm lazy, and somehow I want to be better instead of defensive. On the court, she's fearless. She beats me and laughs, and I don't feel small, I feel alive. She cooks and argues with me about an article she read while we eat standing at the counter. With her, I'm not performing the calm, good guy. You know that version of me. With her, I'm myself. I know this is unforgivable, but it's the truest thing I've ever said." The forest made its own sounds around us. Leaves, a bird starting and going quiet again. I think Mom said more after that, something low and furious and frantic, a hiss and a plea all at once, but I didn't hear it. Everything went distant and soft at the edges, colors blurring like a painting left in rain. I turned and walked away. Branches brushed my shoulders. The path widened. Somewhere behind me, voices tangled and rose, but they were underwater, a radio in another room. When I stepped back onto the lawn, people saw me. A wave of faces, mouths opening, hands lifting a little and then stopping, no one sure if they were allowed to move. I couldn't hear them. The hotel rose up like a ship and I went to it. Inside, the carpet smelled like lemon and newness. I don't remember how I got out of the dress. If a zipper cooperated, if fabric tore, if my fingers were careful or wild. I don't remember where my shoes went or the veil. At some point, I was in my regular clothes, the ones I'd worn to the rehearsal the night before. A soft shirt, jeans, sneakers with dust on the toes. My passport lay on the desk where I'd put it just in case, because I put everything just in case and then forgot it was there. I picked it up. In the hallway, a mirror caught me and offered a person I knew and didn't. Hair half-pinned, face bare of the right expression, eyes too wide. I didn't linger. The elevator came, mechanical and neutral. The lobby gave me a path to the door. Outside, the air was cooler than it had been on the lawn. The bus station sat 2 blocks down, the kind you barely notice when you're arriving in a car. I walked. I think someone called my name behind me. Maybe my granddad, maybe a cousin, maybe no one at all, and it was just the sound of tires and a bird. My legs kept moving the way legs know how to move when the brain can't. The schedule board flickered. I didn't read destinations. I didn't weigh options. The first bus arrived with a sigh and opened its doors, and that was enough. I climbed on, found a seat by a window, and watched the hotel shrink through glass I didn't bother to wipe my breath from. I held my passport in both hands like an anchor and let the city unspool backward, the road taking me somewhere that wasn't there. 2 years later, an ordinary afternoon cracked open on my phone screen. A friend I hadn't muted yet shared a post, and there they were on Facebook, my mother and Bill, standing in the backyard where I used to chase fireflies. The wedding was modest, a borrowed arch, folding chairs, a sheet cake on the patio table where we'd eaten popsicles in July. Mom wore a simple white dress, one hand resting on a small, certain curve. Pregnant. Bill stood beside her, palms spread over hers. Their smiles were quiet, like people who'd settled into the life they chose. I stared at the patch of lawn I knew by heart, the maple that drops too many leaves in October, the fence I painted with Mom when I was 12, the corner where I once set a plastic tea set for my dolls. The same place, a different story. My family, written without me. I used to believe family was a circle you could step back into, no matter what. The photo taught me another shape. Sometimes it closes, and you are on the outside, and the circle keeps moving just the same. I live alone now, not unhappily, just honestly. I work. I water a plant I haven't killed yet. I take long walks after dinner and let the air clear my head. Some nights I scroll until the blue light makes my eyes ache. Some nights I put the phone in the other room and sleep from one edge of the mattress to the other. I don't wish them harm. I don't wish myself back. I hope to meet someone honest, someone who will choose me in every weather, in every room, in front of everyone. The way Bill and Sarah chose each other. Only this time, the choosing won't break anything, it will build.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and explore our channel for more love, betrayal, and redemption tales.